shorter than my name is Megan Smith, and I've been coming here to EVA for a number of years. I'm a Killam Trust laureate, and I run the Critical Future Studio Lab at the University of British Columbia. And I have a number of students involved in the conference this year. So you heard from Najam earlier, just a few minutes ago, which is great. Ije Gao and I have a project or a piece in the Computer Art Society showcase of images. That is a project I presented a couple years ago called All the Stars We Cannot See, which is a visualization of active satellites. And it subsequently received an honorary mention at Ars Electronica, which we're very proud of. Lark Spartan and John Denway Stewart presented last year. Lark subsequently got another honorary mention at Ars Electronica. And John Denway Stewart is also presenting on Friday in EVA. So we have I have a lot of students coming out of my lab who are participating in this space, and I'm very proud of them. And we are also joined today, importantly, by Bahman Fakouri, who is my research assistant and could not come with me today to do this talk, but this is a project that we've developed together. So Walking in the Cold is AI-generated depictions of warming permafrost. So in the Critical Future Studio, we really tell stories. We tell digital stories. And it's kind of been very important to me to, I do hear an echo, but I guess that's okay, tell important stories about our world, about politics, about things that are affecting our lives as humans, finding the human within the computer-generated system, within the socio-political environment, and so on. And so one of the things that's happening in Canada and in our northern communities is that permafrost is melting, which is causing a complete relocation of communities in our northern environments. So that means that, actual towns and spaces are having to relocate, so move their homes and move hundreds of kilometers away. And I keep doing these projects that are stories about spaces that we can't quite get to. So one of the things that we know as humans is we have this emotional connection to spaces once we are in them, once we've seen them for the first time, or we have a friend in that space or a family member in that space. But unless we actually kind of have some kind of connection with that space, we don't always have the necessary tie to change our behaviors or adjust our lives. And so with northern communities, not many of the people in this room have probably been to a northern environment. And it's easy for us to desensitize or not feel any connection to that space. So we hear that there's climate change happening in those spaces, but we don't actually engage with it very much or adjust our lives to it. So that's kind of one of the things that we tried to do with this. And of course, in my lab, we're also interested in all new technologies that are coming out. We test things. We're often in the space where we're breaking things. And I tell my students to fail constantly, please, and to push all the red buttons. So we got into the ChatGPT and AI space quite rapidly. And we've been trying to use that to generate some pretty important information. This is what I'm going to talk about, but I'm just going to run past it right now. So what we've been doing with research creation is Bahman and I, this is kind of our process where we chose the region of the northern environments Then we went to syndicated government. So we were particularly looking at the beginning, Government of Canada data. And then, so we're finding our sources because of course we already talked today about ethics of AI generating spaces and reliability of that information that you're receiving. So we're trying to like pull some important the climate change data that our governments are producing, and in particular the Canadian government. We've got our data, then we built prompts in ChatGPT, and then we build another prompt in a text-to-image generator, and we've tested a few different generators, and then we push the content out into social media. So these are some of the places that we receive data from. Yeah, because it's very important to, of course, have good data. When we first began the project, well, this actually isn't at the beginning of the project, but kind of at one point, we're using ChatGPT to build prompts for Midjourney. So Midjourney was our text-to-image generator at that point. And what I'm showing you here in these two slides, which are probably too small to read, is that in June 2023, ChatGPT didn't know what Midjourney was. But by June 2024, ChatGPT recognized what Midjourney was. And so where we were building prompts in ChatGPT, like feeding our data into ChatGPT to build a prompt for Midjourney, and then using Midjourney to prompt our images, now we can actually move right into Midjourney and get a better image. But I call it really curating. The process is curatorial. So it's not exact, they're not real, right? There's still tons of flaw. I would not claim that these are real images in any way, but what you can see is as we refine it or we push out our first images in Midjourney with our different temperature changes. So this one in particular, we're looking at average temperatures from 8.6 Celsius to 12.3 Celsius in Kelowna, in British Columbia. And then we've refined the process again more. We also add in different things like camera lens, because these filters help us in generating the images that we're looking for, but something that's more valid. This is something we built. This is with Runway, which is another image generator. So this is actually land change in Panjirtum, Hamlet and Baffin Island. And just showing the shift in land with so as the permafrost melts and as the Arctic water and ice melts, the water is rising and the land is shifting quite considerably. So even with all of this, I'll show you this next video. Yeah, we pull data, we push it into text, we use Midjourney, Photoshop AI, Runway, Stable Diffusion. We've worked with thousands of AI images, thousands, lots and lots and lots. We've generated these time lapses showing the permafrost thaw. And the reality is that they are effective. People like our policymakers are interested in them. People who are looking at the cities and city planners are interested in them. But they're actually, it's still not connecting because people are still not feeling a connection to those spaces. We also found an incredible amount of bias in the system. There's a whole other paper on all of the indigenous iconography, like Madame mentioned, we're insular land, unceded territory in Kelowna. And so we're very conscious of our land and our space. And we like to have a better footprint. We try to have a better footprint on our land and talk about our land more. There are so many errors in the system and so many biases, but by curating it, we can get further into spaces that build more critical images. So these are some of the images that we pushed out into social media. This is a depiction of a landslide from permafrost, so into the river in the Yukon. And now I'm going to just show you some beautiful images. Another image of landslide in the Yukon. This is a consequence of a 2°C increase. So completely altering the environment of the space. So like I said, we were still struggling to have people say, hey, like, we need to do something more about our northern communities and have more empathy and more passion and activation for our northern communities, but we weren't really getting much of an answer. So we started to develop a series based on the spaces that people are in. So this is Vancouver. So in 2100, it is predicted that the sea level will rise by 135 centimeters. And this is actually what the city of Vancouver will look like with 135 centimeters of water in it, in that spaces. And we did this in Kelowna as well last summer. I don't know if it made the news here, but we suffered from massive forest fires in our city, and a huge proportion of our city was evacuated. The Kelowna wildfire experience is a very real experience that we have undergone quite recently and kind of live with. And so this kind of thing is helping. This is Richmond in 2100. Richmond is an area outside of Vancouver and is really close to the sea level. We also did Ottawa. So Ottawa is affected by different things, not sea level, but earthquakes and tornadoes. Toronto, again, earthquakes and tornadoes. And Montreal as well. And so because people are in the cities and urban environments, this kind of image is more impactful. And so using these AI tools are helping us. But again, like I said, you know, it's a very curated process to get to that. And we do use government data to feed and prompt the system. So because we are here, we thought we would build an image for you. And these are the first time that we're releasing these. So we started to look at what London would look like in 2100. So here's a map. This is from Climate Central, showing your floodplain areas. Sea level in London could rise by up to 1.15 meters by 2100, under a high emission scenario, which we know is coming. So we built Greenwich.
Well, it looks like the 17th century, that does. It looks really nice, actually.
Ken Aletta would be proud of that one.
And we built one other. So this is potentially the future of London. It, of course, is completely AI generated, but I do hope it helps to grow conversation.
They're just rebuilding the London College of Communication for UAL there.
Yeah, like I said, not accurate. I did try to build one on the Tate. It kind of completely flooded. I thought that doesn't make sense at all, but
Is this without a new tenant? I mean, they're obviously planning a new one.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah.
it's
Yeah, I mean, the barriers are just a Band-Aid, though,
well,
right?
no,
We
but the
have-
current one is running out.
Yeah,
But they're planning a new one as the next.
yeah, yeah.
And then a new one after that.
No, I mean, we have to be more conscious of our footprint.
Thank you, Megan.
Nice with the
Yeah.
nice reflections. I think people.
My lab is funded by the Killam Trust and the Canada Foundation for Innovation.
Well, that's a sobering thought.